Hey everyone, John P here. Today I'm going to be answering questions that you have asked me either on my Instagram, The Real John P, or also at delraywatch.com, where we have a question section that you can ask questions for the future, not only for this channel, but also for Federico's channel from Federico Talks Watches. We both field questions there and in that way, so make sure in the future to ask in those places, and you are very likely to receive the answer here or on his channel. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about Rolex wait lists, some confusion surrounding them. We're going to be talking about certain watch models, what Longines is doing, popular questions we get as watch dealers, and so many other things. So very likely there's something in this video to pique your interest. The first question that I'm fielded here is about Longines, and I think this is great because Longines is doing some really great things today, kind of coming back to where they once were in the 50s and 60s as, truly a luxury watch brand. And this person asks, and I have my laptop here with the questions, Longines Master Collection Moon Phase, is it a great affordable alternative to the JLC, the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Control Moon Phase? And I would say yes, absolutely. Right? So for about $2,300 US, you can get the same kind of look and almost the same kind of feel of a watch that's going to be out there in the market for about $10,000 or thereabout, depending on the version of the JLC Moon Phase. So I think that's great for that. If you're looking at it purely aesthetically, they're kind of similar in that way. The complications, the Moon Phase, so on, but the quality is going to be less, but certainly not a tenth of the price less. And I think it's a great alternative, especially if you don't want to, pay that premium for what JLC is kind of doing, and they're pushing themselves up market. So I think this is a great choice for you if you're looking for that style of watch. Now, the next question, and I see this a lot, and I can appreciate this. I'm a bit of a tinkerer, if you will, occasionally. Certainly, when I was very young, like in high school age, I would kind of play around with assembling watches and things like that. And this person asks about particularly a Tag Heuer F1 quartz, and they say that there's a gold-plated movement in the watch. The version of the watch that they have in the watch is sentimental, but because of religious reasons, they do not want to, or they cannot wear gold, and I can understand that certainly. And so they swap the movement for a different movement, but the dial feet are in the wrong position, so it looks weird, and they want to know what they should do. And essentially, if everything does align, and for those of you that are not familiar, essentially there's these metal prongs that come out the back of the dial or the face of the watch, and it clips into the movement, and generally the watch manufacturers are using that as a method of securing the movement to the dial and putting it in the case to keep it centered, in addition to using things like movement rings and spacers and other methods. Sometimes it's built into the case or the case back to kind of keep that movement put. But that's, traditionally the easiest way to do it is with the dial feet, and they want to know what they should do. And a watchmaker would cut off the dial feet and solder them in different positions. That's how the feet get on the dial in the first place. They're soldered on for the correct holes in the movement to snap on. So that's what a watchmaker would do, pending everything else aligns. But there's other factors like the dial thickness, for example. The movement and the dial have a certain thickness, and the rest of the case is really built in precision to make that happen. So there's other factors here, but essentially all things aligning perfectly, the dial feet need to be cut off and resoldered in the correct position. Or a lazy watchmaker may use dial dots, which are like these kind of adhesive stickers essentially to keep it fixed there, but not a great long-term solution, and certainly not a luxury solution. Next question. What are your thoughts on the Longines Spirit Zulu Time 39? Well, once again, I think Longines is doing a great job with what they're doing, but the prices are going up, but so is the quality. So when we have this watch here, I like it a lot. We've had some of these watches in the door at Delray Watch, and I really do like to see that 39 size. I think it's a size that is overlooked, but when a brand does it, they do it very well. Watches in this range, the size range from 38 to under 40, just seem to do so well with the smaller wrist size, myself included. So I like it. But I do think that $3,150 retail price or thereabout is a bit steep for this particular watch, considering when you get into pre-owned, you can get into even Omega Seamaster GMT for about this price. And so I think time will tell good option, but try to get a discount at least for the time being. Next question is actually, what is the most popular question at delraywatch.com? We get so many questions about watches that we have in stock. People want to, they want more pictures or they want videos, and rightfully so. And, maybe not everyone is good with computers and being able to zoom in, and that's understandable. I totally get that. But probably the most frequent question we receive is someone gets a call from their authorized dealer for Rolex and says, hey, I was just offered this Rolex date just, I'm so excited, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to pay double retail? I haven't bought it yet. I don't have the funds. Do you want to pay double retail? I'd be glad to give it to you. I'll go pick it up from the authorized dealer and send it to you. We get this comment or question all of the time, and the answer is always absolutely not. We don't want to buy a date just at retail, let alone double retail or something silly like that, right? We get it, you're feeling very special that they called you for this watch, but it's just not something that makes sense. Most date just today, they're not selling for these crazy over retail prices. Sometimes you see them online, but that's just not the reality of the situation. If you hunt around, you can get a date just, maybe a Daytona. Okay, yeah, pay double retail on that. But all these other watches, a lot of them, it just doesn't make sense. So if you like the date just or something like that, maybe not the most hot in-demand watch from the brand, feel free to pick it up, but I wouldn't expect to have, this kind of grand windfall that maybe you were imagining, and I certainly would not expect it from a dealer, just considering the excess amount of inventory that's floating out there in the slim margins on most Rolex watches. But thanks for offering, but it's just not realistic at the end of the day. Next question, when is the best time to sell a watch to retain value while it's in the current catalog under warranty or after it's discontinued? Really just depends on the watch. A lot of watches sell for premiums when they're very hot. They haven't quite hit all the shelves yet, or they're kind of regionally hitting different shelves, different places, different country, cities, things like that at different times. So it just kind of depends where the watch is, what the distribution is of the watch, and a watch can become hot years after the discontinuation of that watch if people kind of like it for other reasons in the future. But I would say that particularly, if you're concerned about, maybe the watch being under warranty or something like that, that's not a huge concern. Generally, people out there in the market are not paying a premium for watches that are necessarily under warranty, then not, especially if it's a high-end brand, because they just expect it to work as intended from the manufacturer anyway. So whether or not it's been serviced, I think the more important thing there in terms of, retaining the value is, does the watch work properly as intended? Depends on the watch for the value retention. But I think, you basically just have to Google it, look on the marketplaces, the online platforms, Chrono24, different watch dealers, see what it trades for, and see if that's a price that you personally are comfortable with. Next question, how do you price a limited edition watch when there are none for sale and only a handful made? Well, it just kind of depends the watch, once again, but generally you can find something comparable out there from that brand, maybe a little bit different of a dial, but still limited in some way. And also just kind of look for the demand. Go to social media, go onto the marketplaces. On eBay, you can search sold or completed listings and try to get a feel for it. Go to different websites like Watch Recon and search the forums. You can probably at least get a fail-safe when it comes to the pricing. And oftentimes with these, more rare, but not necessarily in super high demand watches, they require a certain type of customer that wants that particular watch. They're less impulse buys because they're going to be paying a premium on what else is out there just commonly circulating and floating around. So it can be tricky, but try to find a fail-safe for something that's comparable that might not be as special, or maybe it's special, but a different kind of special from the same brand, and use your typical pricing strategy from there of determining, a pricing floor of where you're kind of safe, maybe where it would sell at an auction, and handle it from there. There's a little bit of guesswork when it comes to watches like this, but if it truly is super special and uncommon, it's likely to end up at some auction house anyway, where there will be a hammer price, and then you're going to have a price for the future. Now, this person asks, is there a particular number of watches that you would consider a sweet spot? And do you try to stick to that number, or would you just add more watches to your collection no matter what? Now, personally, I don't really have a strategy. Luckily, I'm very fortunate enough to have Delray watch where I can kind of scratch my collector itch in that kind of way. And I found recently that, especially living in South Florida, with the outdoors and the pool and the beach, and it's really an outdoor area to live in if you like, the hot weather and you can kind of tolerate it, which I can. And so I like to be, in the water. And so for me, if it's not waterproof, it's not sporty, it's not water resistant, it can't do that. I just don't have a lot of chances to wear it, nor do I really want to, right? I like to wear a watch that I can kind of just jump in the pool and get out and then go, pick up a coffee or something like that. I don't want to, have to like go home and switch my watch and do this and that and really like limit the activities I can do based on my watch. It's like a shackle in a type of way I see it. So, for me to wear a Patek World Time, which I have, it's okay, I'm gonna wear it for an hour a day or something like that, and then I'm gonna go to the gym or I'm gonna go outside and do some sprints or something, and then I just can't wear it anymore. It's like, okay, back in the safe. So for me personally, it just needs to fit that kind of a lifestyle. But if I like something and it's kind of interesting and it comes across my desk, that's how I choose it. There's not a big strategy or number of pieces per se. But I would love to hear how all of you guys actually collect watches. Leave that in the comments below. It's always interesting to kind of see different perspectives on that, whatever, the constraints or lack of maybe for your collecting strategy. Now, the next person asks about online watch publications, and they say that they've seemingly become more like Vogue or GQ. Do you agree? And if so, why? Yes. And I'm glad that you said this, because I don't think enough people do say this or even, realize necessarily, because maybe there's other places to look. But I have noticed as well, a lot of online watch publications have become anything but online watch publications, right? You'll see all of these endless articles about, okay, does this Tag Heuer Carrera match with this Birkin bag from Hermes? Okay, well, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. There's this weird enmeshment of different aspects of lifestyle and collecting, and it's almost like a lot of publications are trying to make these things appeal to everyone at the same time, and I don't know if that's, the best strategy, because it's going to turn people off that don't want to see that. They click on something, attention spans are not what they used to be because of, online places, social media, so on and so forth, right? I'm not, a psychologist in any regards, but I'm sure many of you agree, attention spans are not what they used to be. Look at all the people texting and driving, right? I can go on and on and on. But regardless, yeah, a lot of these online publications, they want to talk more about, okay, does my loafer match my Doxa diver? Does my Patek Philippe Nautilus dial match the color of my hair scrunchie? I don't know. All of these things, I do agree, you're really getting me going here, but there are many publications out there, and if you can kind of filter through the things you don't want to see or are not of interest to you, there is still some good information out there and some decent writers on watches. Let me know what you think. Comments below. Now next, what do you think of a new Louis Vuitton Tambour? Will it be a hit in the integrated sport design category? No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. LVMH, they're doing some nice things, but this watch, which has a movement they say is in-house, but it's built with this company CHSA, which makes in-house movements for so many brands. It's not a big deal. Okay, they take one of their off-the-shelf calibers, they tweak it a little bit, change the rotor, put some decoration in there. It's a little bit different than the other person. Particularly here, Speak Marin uses all their movements, no problem. Do I like the design? Yes, absolutely, very cool, integrated. I like that design, and I think LVMH is capable, but the Tambour has always been a dog line. You buy them at a fraction of the price. They're made well, right? Still gonna be quality, they're luxury products, but this particular watch, we're talking $20,000 US. Are you going to buy a $20,000 Louis Vuitton pretend in-house manufacturer watch that was contract manufactured, and a lot of buzz and luxury and, panache and pizzazz to kind of, get that nuanced buyer? Or are you maybe just gonna, drop $5,000 and get yourself an Oyster Perpetual? You're gonna drop $5,000 and get literally anything else for the same quality out there on the market. Personally, I wouldn't spend $20,000 on this watch. Just looking at the historical data on the brand for a stainless steel sport watch from a non-luxury watch manufacturer, I wouldn't do it. Do I like the design? Yes. But you'd be throwing away $20,000. The choice is yours. Let me know. Comments below. Now, last, this person wants to know, how are the MoonSwatch watches doing? Did the hype stay intact? The MoonSwatch watches, I like. I know there's some quality issues, some concerns of watering down the brand. Who cares, right? Oh, Omega watered down the brand. They connected themselves with Swatch, who owns Omega. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't care if Omega waters down their brand. Do I like the watches? Do I like what they are? And many people do. That being said, the watches are not hot like they were when they came out. They produced more and more of them. They're plastic at the end of the day, bioceramic, whatever. They're plastic. Maybe they're made out of melted down bottles they scraped out off of the ocean floor to clean up the world. Who knows? Regardless, the watches are not selling for $2,000 anymore. The watches, in fact, many dealers are trying to dump the watches in different dealer groups because not all of them, right? The Mission to the Moon version, that seems to be a little bit more in demand or a little more desirable, probably because it's more in line with a traditional Speedmaster Professional colorway and aesthetic. Nonetheless, yeah, these watches, many dealers are holding them, many collectors are holding them. They'll sell, but they're not selling for 3-4 times retail. Maybe someone will pay double, but I see them at retail in all the chats of people that just want to get rid of them because they bought them or they took them in on the trade. So time will tell. Well, let's see what they do with the collection. Maybe they'll even come out with a Seamaster version of a Swatch. That would be cool. I don't have any problem against it. Companies are going to do what companies do, and they come out with products because they have to sell them. And that's just the reality of watches and anything else out there in the world. So MoonSwatch, cool watch, but it's not really something that I think is people are chomping at the bit to have on their wrists per se. So guys, this has been me answering your questions. If you have any other questions, you can ask them over at delraywatch.com or my Instagram, The Real John P. Please don't forget to check out delraywatch.com, where we have so many cool watches we've been working around the clock to put in stock for you. And we'll see you next time. You've been chatting with John P.